People who are not cult torture survivors have asked me how to recognize cult abusers, and I don't know how to tell you to recognize them because they mask so well. Beyond that, they don't usually have real compassion or empathy. They can fake it a little, but if you have a really good gut sense, you might be able to sense that someone doesn't, but that's not enough on its own. If you're a cult torture survivor, you might recognize cues that are specific ones with language or with body language or certain combinations of what they're wearing, but that isn't also a guarantee. But they mask so well. That's part of it. They usually look really good in society. Like they have good jobs. They volunteer. My parents went to church every weekend, and mother sang in the choir, father taught Sunday school. They volunteered their time. They could say things that sounded socially acceptable and mostly aware to a degree. There are some stories that they told about me that if they had told someone who was trauma aware, they would have understood what they were saying. Like laughing at how my mother had slammed the car door on my finger and the fingernail came off, and I just quietly told her, "Mom, I think you've shut the door on my finger." That's showing a level of trauma, right? That I wasn't screaming or reacting, that I already knew pain so repeatedly and so extreme that I wasn't reacting beyond a quiet voice and a lack of safety, too. But most people wouldn't pick up on that. Cult is based in hate, though, just like the rest of our society. So they are usually really misogynist, homophobic, queerphobic, racist, but they're often going to try and hide that. And that alone is not, again, anything to identify them with because it's steeped into our society and most people have levels of it that they have to unlearn. Then there's things like you could see in any abuser, like if you see the child, like when I was a child with my parents, you would see how stiff I was, how unsafe I felt in body language. Again, that's not enough. Cult abusers are so careful to blend in, to look like respectable members of society. They are so careful to do that. Having a really good gut instinct is something, but it's not enough. What may help more is looking for the victims, the survivors, the body language, all the signs and symptoms that we show. I do have an article on my website, The Signs and Symptoms of Cult Survivors. It is very detailed and graphic, so you take your time with it if you do read it. You make sure you're in a good place before you read it. You talk to someone if you need to. And then I think as much as possible, we try and help survivors. Like, there needs to be education about cult torture, and DID too. There needs to be people who can actually hear and believe survivors. There needs to be better laws, and that will be a long time in coming. The system is set up for perpetrators, not survivors, not victims. There needs to be more awareness of what child abuse looks like in general, the signs that survivors will show. I wish that we also taught compassion and empathy in schools, anti-bullying, but also awareness about abuse. I wish that therapists were trained so much more in cult torture, especially. You can recognize so many other survivors within that because cult torture involves so much. I wish we had a more compassionate society. And so educating and working on healing and helping each other, that's part of the overall change.